I'll What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Roll for Review. We have been gone for several weeks, and we really apologize about that. Schedules have just gotten a little crazy with us, but we wanted to get back because we have a ton of exciting new projects to talk about. I'm Joe. I created the Wanderer's Guide, and I make tabletop products for a living.
Hello, humanoids. I'm Hannah, also known as Halfling Hannah, and I'm a forever DM and a creator of DM resources on YouTube, Patreon, and my website, halflinghobbies.com.
And I am Alex, a designer and marketer for the Wanderer's Guide, and actually will be starting DMing soon. I actually already helped my my friends create their characters as a DM, so we've already started those sessions. And also, that being said, as a reminder or as an announcement for the Wanderer's Guide, the Wanderer's Guide is officially up for pre-order, and the pledge manager is open if you already backed the Wanderer's Guide. All the art is done. We are finalizing some more details in terms of the book itself, but you can go into the comments now, and the link is right there to go pre-order your own copy, and all that stuff is there. So please check that out, and there will be a little video later in this live stream to tell you all about the Wanderer's Guide if you aren't sure what that is yet.
It is fantastic.
I'm a little sad. I'm a little sad right now because Alex launched into the whole Wanderer's Guide thing right after he finished talking about that he was about to start DMing, and didn't give me and Hannah a chance to start chanting one of us.
One of us.
Yeah, I'm very excited.
We finally got him roped into it.
But
I'm very
Hannah,
excited.
We might have new viewers watching tonight, or viewers that have completely forgotten what this show is all about because it's been so long since we've been able to hop on one of these.
It's so true. So the three of us, together with our different experiences and views on games, come together as Roll for Review, where we dig through all of the TTRPG related Kickstarters and we pull out the very, very best ones. We hoard them closely like a DM for Alex, since you'll soon understand this pain. Like a DM hoards NPCs that their players will never interact with. And then we show off the very best to you. Each of us has chosen our 3 favorite TTRPG Kickstarters in this time, and trust me, it was really hard for us to do. There were so many incredible ones because it was a much longer stretch of time. But we've chosen our 3 favorites for various reasons, and we're going to tell you all about it and why we think that if you are going to invest in a game, why it should be these. And then we are going to give it a very arbitrary roll, which is what we get our name from. We are Roll for Review. This is where we give it a number from 1 to 20, plus any modifiers, just like you might have in D&D. And that is Roll for Review.
Yeah.
Right. So without further ado, let's talk about some projects, guys.
Let's do it.
And I miss this, guys. I miss this so much.
Oh, it's so good.
Yeah.
So The very first project that we are going to talk about today is Atlas, tabletop battle maps and encounter cards for D&D 5e. Which, I mean, they say D&D 5e, and I think they're just putting 5e in there because this is pretty universal. Like, it's battle maps, so
They're pretty
saying
universal.
that it's 5e compatible is kind of like...
Maybe it might just be for the search.
Yeah, exactly. So no dissing anything there. I'm perfectly fine with it. I read it and it felt weird. I was like, wait, how is this really 5e-ish? But
technically.
Yeah, technically it is. Level up your table with huge printed maps, game-ready encounter cards, and reusable stickers. So this is brought to us by Moonlight Maps. And this is the very first Kickstarter that they have brought to market. And I am very excited to talk about it. So, excuse me, I'm drinking a Diet Coke for like the first time. Like
I was gonna say, you don't normally you normally are full of energy.
Yeah, I'm just drinking a Diet Coke for like the first time in a year, and like I just like it's like so bubbly. I'm just like, oh my goodness. So all right, forgive me if I like accidentally have to like suppress some rising.
No, let it out.
Let it out. No. Wait.
All right.
Noise
Atlas.
channels.
Atlas is a TTRP game changer. Those big words, right? Liz, really pumping us up here. A binder of 100 huge hand-drawn battle maps, 2 decks of thrilling, ready-to-run combat and mystery encounter, and a plethora of reusable vinyl stickers let you be ready for any event. Cut down on prep time and be the perpetually prepared for any turn your adventures might take. So this has already raised $133,000, just over 1,200 backers, doing very well right now. But here's basically what you're going to get in this product, okay? You are going to get these beautiful, giant, fold-out maps that are dry erase. The front and the back of every map is actually the same map, but with like a different vibe. So while you might look at this cavern and there might be this like weird glowing green light, you flip it over and that green unearthly light is kind of like a lava cavern, right? So it gives you like daytime or nighttime. So you're not getting like all brand new unique maps, but you're getting different vibes for different maps. So that's one thing that you should be aware of. But since they're front and back, you can't use them together anyway. But they kind of did the system where they want them to like fold out and be very big unfurled maps that you can use. They're all the 1-inch standard grids that you can use for all of your standard D&D style maps. So they're going to work with all of the D&D miniatures or tokens or any of the other products that you bought. So that's really good. There are actually 2 separate products that are being offered here with 50 maps each. One is called Dusk and one is called Twilight. Now, I've spent a little time looking on the page and I didn't find like a direct breakdown to say these are the maps that come in Dusk and these are the maps that come in Twilight. So I'm not exactly sure what that is. There might be a link somewhere that I'm missing, but none of that, I don't see like a clear thing that says here's a bunch of like images of maps that come in this one and here's a bunch of images of maps that come in this one. But one thing that I did want to talk about was something that I find really, really cool is they have decks of encounters, which is really great if you're running a dungeon or running a map where you can just draw a card and have an encounter. Or as I would probably do, I would not just randomly draw cards. I would kind of flip through them and choose ones that I felt fit very well with possible vibes. They all level up through 1 through 20 for the different adventuring parties. So you don't have to worry about scaling there. But here's what I really like. There is an encounter deck for combat, and there is a encounter deck for mysteries, okay?
Ooh.
And now, the pledge does not go too deep into, like, what those different things mean, right? They haven't really been like, oh, like, this is exactly what this deck is going to have, and it doesn't give me great examples of what all of those are. And I would really like to see a little bit more of that. I'd like to see like, what does this, show me some examples of what this mystery deck contains. Show me some example of what this combat one contains. Like if I just pull a card and it's like, 8 goblins attack. To me, I don't know if that's super exciting, but if you're actually going to provide some really cool stories and background, something that I can use to like immerse my players, and especially the mystery deck, I'm even more intrigued by this because it's like, oh, you see a weird room. You're like, that's not going to give me much. So I would like to see some more examples of what decks might offer. The maps that we do get to see are beautiful. I can definitely understand why you wouldn't want to show all of them off, right? There are a lot of stretch goals for like punchboard monsters. The static clean stickers are really cool. We're not seeing a whole lot that we haven't seen from other products. Like I have the immersive battle map book. We've seen him that's released some like put together tile things. We've seen Dungeon Craft do a lot of different books of different terrain types. So we've seen a lot of product offerings that are like in this like battle map world. But I like the idea that each one of these is more self-contained and it's its own map. It's a cavern or it's a tavern or it's this thing or that. So you can really look at it as the GM ahead of time and have a good understanding of what you're going to be looking at and what you want your players to see. I also do like the scale of these. A lot of these maps he claims are going to be 25 by 25 inches.
Whoa.
So you're going to need a pretty epic sized table in order to hold these. But I think that that's a really good thing. I'm really excited about it. Okay.
It's pretty cool.
Wow.
Can I just say that I use static clings and I absolutely love them. Like I can't find enough of them in various things. So for like spells, they have spell effect ones. They have like all sorts of them and I absolutely love them. They're just amazing. 2, did you see that this is compatible with Helana's Guide to Monster Hunting, which we reviewed as well.
Love that.
So I think that's pretty cool. I really liked that Kickstarter too. So,
yes.
Yeah.
So that's like a huge win that he was able to partner with them to like frame his maps around things that were in Heliana's already. So I really do like the ability to do that. That sounds like a really great concept.
Yeah.
Yeah, some very practical things.
I think this is really, really super cool. The 25-inch map is in like, oh my god, I don't think I would even have the room for that. But I'm interested to see.
About that.
Joe, I would agree in terms of the structure of this page. I don't really see exactly what each thing is, right? It says it in text, but I'm not like really seeing exactly what I'm getting.
Really cool gifts.
Yeah, there's really cool gifts, but at the same time, they're more zoomed in. They're not like, this is what this is, this is what that is, this is what... There's like stuff noting what you get in the pledge levels, but there's no real, this is exactly what you get.
What about the one that says all the maps? Do you guys see that one? Right underneath the Helianas? There's one that shows 2, 4, 6, 8 different kinds of maps.
Right underneath the Helianas.
Yeah, Heliana's Guide to Monsters, see below. And then it has Atlas. And if you don't wait for the gift to actually open, you miss it. But it like opens and it shows 8 of the maps.
Yeah, so that's the one place where you do get to see
like just a quick snippet though.
Yeah, you have to watch the whole thing.
But like I'm more saying like there's a section of like this is what the book is. These are what these cards do. This is what this does. Yeah. I think that's just a little piece of information that I think should be moved up higher just so people can see exactly what they're getting. But at the same time, it's not. It's obviously not making a huge impact because they already have $133,000.
Yeah, they're doing phenomenal. I'm really happy with the product overall. I just think for like the encounter decks, especially that mystery deck.
Oh yeah, for the
give me a little bit, show me a little bit more. I'd really like to also see like a little bit of like, hey, what's the difference between these two like maps? Am I gonna get more in like internal environments, or which would be a great way to split it up is do like more wilderness environments versus actual like interior building environments. So like urban versus wilderness. I think that would be a great way to determine which map goes where. But that's not important. I just I don't know like so. Let's talk about pricing.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
This would be a good place to start. So. There's a $30 pledge, which will get you either Dusk or Twilight. Each one of those has 50 maps. I don't know which maps are in which. That's the thing. Right? I don't know how to make I don't know how to make the decision. If I only had the 30 pounds, right? If I only had the 30 pounds, so this is going to end up being like what, $42. If I only got the $42 to spend and I only can get one of these, I don't know which one to get, right? And so that's a little difficult for me to make that determination. So that's one thing where I wish I could have a little bit more, even if you're not going to show me every single map, and there are reasons that you wouldn't want to do that, I could say that I'd at least like to know a little bit more and see at least a breakdown of like what's expected to be, even a list. Like, even if you show me like 5 examples from each book, and then the rest is just like text of like what you're describing, right? Like an external forest, a bridge over a rushing river. Like, those are things that I would enjoy seeing, right?
Question.
Yes.
Dusk says that it's 25 inches by 25 inches. Twilight says it's 18 by 22. Are they the same 50 maps, just different sizes, maybe?
I don't think so. I think that they're different.
Okay.
In fact, I'm almost positive that they're different maps.
Okay.
Because I know that the first side of the maps are different characteristics. So,
well, there's a lot here.
Yeah.
So I'm going to keep going through with the pricing.
Yeah.
You can get these maps digitally, which I play mostly digital. And even though I like physical product mostly, most of my D&D playing is in a digital space. So for something that's very like map dependent, this might be a really good ability to do something digital, because even though these maps are beautiful and I would love to have them on my table, I don't even know when I'm going to use them. You know what I mean? Like,
exactly.
I don't really know. But that's going to cost you $56 for the digital tier. So a whole bunch of maps. So you're going to get all the maps. Okay?
Yeah.
So it's getting a little expensive here. You can get both maps for $75. So both books, 100 battle maps for $76. Sorry, 76. Then is where you're going to get up to the kind of the all-in pledge, all right? So you're getting 100 maps, both encounter decks and the reusable stickers, and that is 111 in US currency, all right? And we take one more step up, right, which is $166. You get all the maps, you get the stickers, you get the encounter decks, you get a GM screen, all right, which, again, I don't know what's going to be on this GM screen, but something, I hope, not just pretty art. You get a midnight dice set, so you get some midnight dice, all right, and you get some Moon Boy pins, which is kind of their mascot. And if you watch the video, it's a very funny, humorous video. I like their video a lot, so I do recommend, if you're interested in this product, watch the video. It's very cute. And so there's some pins that have to do with kind of like what they're establishing as their branding and everything. I like these guys a lot. I really like just the whole vibe that they're trying to go for. The maps do look very beautiful. They look like they spent a lot of time with it. We have seen some really heinously bad map products. All right,
we have
not reviewed them.
He's not wrong.
Look at almost every Kickstarter for TTRPGs that launch, and I have seen some horrendously bad maps. This looks like a really good, solid, well thought out, beautifully drawn and illustrated map product. If battle maps are something that you could use, and getting quick encounters is something that you would find beneficial as a DM, I would highly recommend looking into this. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I mean, it's a lot of value. Like, honestly, a lot of value on here. As a DM, you're always looking for things like this, and so the more you have, the merrier, kind of thing. You can pull things together, you can look through them, you can get inspiration. I think all of it is great and looks to be a really quality product. I think it looks awesome.
I would definitely agree. Well, Joe, what do you think about rolling this?
I am going to give
Sorry, I'm probably too far from the mic.
I'm going to give this
The same thing. I was like, move back over.
Oh man, I'm so back and forth on this. I'm gonna go with a 16.
All right,
I'm gonna.
It's a solid roll.
That's solid, yeah.
Yeah, it's a very good roll. In fact, you know, nobody gets mad when they're rolling a 16 in combat. Okay,
Nope.
But I really want to give this like a 17 or 18. I really want to. What's keeping me from it is like I just need some more examples. Like, you're offering me 2 products but I don't know what's in either of the products or how I would make a decision on which one I want. You're saying that there's 2 encounter decks. I think that that's a really cool idea. I just don't I don't get to see a whole lot of examples on what is going to be in those cards. Like there's a GIF, but I'm going to have to like pause that GIF to kind of see what it looks like. And most of the GIF, I'm looking at it right now, Universal Encounters, there, it kind of goes over one card really quickly, and the rest is just showing off the artwork on the back side of the card. Yeah. So like, I want to know, like, I'm really intrigued by your mystery deck, but I don't know what I'm going to get from it.
Yeah.
At the very bottom of that, there was a link to download a sample. It won't work on my phone, so I wasn't able to actually look at it real quick. But it's like buried. Yeah. They buried the lead on that one. So if you want to look into that, download it, see if it's something that you're interested in. There is that option, but I don't know what's in it. So maybe it answers the questions. But if it does, it's too far away.
Yeah, I'm scrolling.
It's quite a bit down
there, man.
Okay, okay. So sorry, all the way under shipping, which is like honestly where people quit reading. There's a free taster. Okay.
Yep.
You can download what they're calling a free tester.
Yep.
And then let's see.
You have to do like all this agree stuff.
All agree.
Yeah. That's why. And then it would work in my browser.
So they're giving you 4 maps and an encounter. Do you guys want to read one of the encounters?
Let's let everyone. I think we got to keep moving on, so we're not going to take too much time.
But we found something.
But we did find some stuff.
Definitely
suggest if you see this page, definitely click on it. To take a little bit more of a look. I think, guys, bring this up if you can, or
It's kind of frustrating that it doesn't come up on mobile though.
Yeah.
Because I can look at it.
That being said, Joe, you gave that a 16. But let's move to Hannah's next, and keep the train rolling.
My first Kickstarter choice of the night is called Fearsome Foes and Where to Fight Them, and has no connection to my deep love of Harry Potter. That is not why I chose this Kickstarter, but it's doing pretty well. It's at 23,000. It's about halfway through its goal. We've got 744 backers, 22 days left to go. We've still got a while here. This is a guide to help spice up encounters for experienced adventurers, new worlds for them to inhabit, and beautiful music.
Ooh.
Made for 5e D&D. I love it when they add that element.
they include music.
I love it. Love it. Okay. So here's what this is. This is literally 40 monsters from CR ratings 2 to CR ratings 30 for adventurers of all experience levels.
CR rating 30? Okay.
30.
That's a big, okay.
That's a big boy. So you got 10 new spells for the creatures and players alike. You've got 5 new magic items to entice players and enhance enemies, and you have 3 new settings for you and your players to explore and conquer. Here's the reason why I picked this Kickstarter, and I am a sucker for anything that enhances lore in my game and adds depth, and that is exactly what this Kickstarter does. This Kickstarter looks at monsters and says, okay, in other TTRPG worlds like Pathfinder, you have a bunch of different ways to do combat encounters. Everyone complains about 5e's combat. It's just one of those things. It follows the same order with monsters, and there's very little variation other than the monster itself, right? Their abilities don't really change. They have the same set of abilities, maybe a little bit of innate spell casting, but there's not a lot of freshness in there. Mm-hmm. This Kickstarter specifically addresses that by giving these monsters unique and flavorful abilities. Things that are going to challenge your players in ways that aren't just it hit real hard, you know? These are going to be moments where maybe you have some terrain things that happen. So this monster can create things in the terrain, and you have to constantly roll against falling asleep during this encounter because of what it can do. That's just a little taste of these different monsters that are in here.
Summon flowers that put out spores that, yeah.
Exactly. So some really fun different monster abilities that can come from that. So that's what this really focuses on. And along with that, you get these really awesome soundtracks. They're just
Yeah.
there's some samples on here that you can listen to. They loop pretty much flawlessly and endlessly so that you can add not only just some monster flavor to your campaign, but you can also add in some music. I'm definitely a proponent of using music at the table. I spend hours and hours creating playlists for different encounters and for different campaigns because I think it just adds something to it. And so they provide some resources there for you. So, as a DM, Joe, and as a budding DM, what do you think about giving these monsters some new and fun abilities?
So I do want to mention really quick, this is actually the third time that Joshua Greer, the creator, has launched this. And looks like a lot of great changes were made. And as a first time, I'm going to technically say this is a first time creator, right?
Yes.
So taking a look at this, I think this is a learning experience for everyone. And as a new creator coming to Kickstarter, whether you're listening right now and you're saying, I have this idea, I have this Kickstarter, I don't want it to be like, if I want to make sure that it gets done, I want to make sure that it gets funded. It's not always going to get funded, and that is okay. I mean, take this for example. Joshua had it happen twice, and he's come back, he's made some changes, and it's looking great, and it's on the right track. And this is just going to happen. It's the nature of the game, but always use it as a learning experience. Overall, I think this is really, really cool. I think it's really interesting. I love the idea of having monsters that are a little bit more unique in terms of their abilities. They aren't just a monster and they hit you and try to kill you. I really like that a lot. And I really love the art. I also think the layout looks great. And I'd be really interested in what I would like to see is a little bit more of maybe a sample page. I know we have sample tracks, but a sample page that we can see of like one or two monsters to give people.
You go down, keep scrolling.
All the
way
down.
There. There's some really cool ones.
Yeah,
there's the Harlequin. There's the
they're way.
Bringer.
So
really
my
cool.
suggestion would be to have those up
there.
higher.
Yeah, because they are awesome.
This is honestly more people are going to be interested in the pages than they will the tracks. I think
the tracks are more like a bonus. If
the tracks are more a
this
bonus.
This isn't about the music. This is about the monsters. So put them up front.
Yeah, and maybe even so. Here's the thing: also having them as images, people don't get the opportunity to zoom in. So most likely, this is one thing. Like I said, we want to talk about these as a learning experience. And from a graphic design and marketing standpoint, as I look at this, I would say take some of that art, take some of those characters and use them as flavors around descriptive parts and chunks of this that talk about each page, but have the pages be a PDF that people can zoom in on, because not everyone is going to be able to read them. And I know it's a lot easier to and simpler to upload the page, but that makes it more difficult sometimes for the viewer of your page to read the pages that you have. That's just a little bit of advice there. I think there's so much really cool art that you could take out as PNGs and add them as flavors. And decorate that page. It's your storefront, right? So decorate that as much as you can.
Yeah, and that's one of the... Joe, you go ahead before I finish up and wrap up.
Yeah, so I think this product is awesome. I've gotten really into running like actual monster encounters for my group as actual monsters, right? And like really like building up a little story around the monster that they're going to be facing, right? I just finished a whole little mini session where mini quest where they were trying to figure out what was like plaguing this town from not being able to get caravans, and it turns out that there was a hydra on the loose in the countryside, but he had like this whole little cult of lizard men that were like thought it was a god, right? So they like were worshiping this hydra, and the hydra would just eat them, and they thought that they like turned into one of its heads when they got eaten, right?
Oh wow,
this
elaborate cult. I like it.
Yeah, so there's this whole session that I kind of built that really was meaninless in grand schemes of the story, but I had so much fun building a session because like the whole process was like, ooh, how are they going to encounter a hydra? This is going to be fun. And so I like the idea of being able to take like a monster and build an entire quest or session around a singular monster, which is what these monsters are.
Yes, absolutely. Like if you look at these, you'll fall in love with them because I 100% did. This page is not the best page that we've seen on Kickstarter, if we're being honest, but it has some really good content. And like you said, it keeps getting better every time that it brings it. I really hope that it funds this time because this is a really neat little project. And one of the reasons why I picked it is because looking at the page and then looking at the pledge amount, he actually has a decent pledge amount given what this Kickstarter page looks like.
Yeah.
Which just proves that people want this. They want monsters to be more than just, something for your players to throw their spells at.
Yeah.
Your monsters should be an integral part of your story and actually add something to your campaign. And every single one of these will. And last little thing is that the space in which the monster is, like their terrain, their area, is just as important as the monster.
Yeah.
Like there's a lot of things that you need to think in on that. And this, it gives you that. So like the ancient crab layer that's on here, the art is so beautiful on that. And the thought and the detail and the layer actions in that is phenomenal. I really, really love it. Okay, so let's look at the price. Since I've told you how much that I love it. I have to go on my phone.
Wait, do you always like scroll through it on your phone?
No, I always have it on my iPad, but my iPad is dying, and I left my cord at work.
Gotcha. Okay.
I
guess I've never noticed.
I do sometimes do it on my phone.
Okay.
Where's I can't. Well, this is the problem. Can I back this project on here? Okay, so we have $10. You get the PDF copy, which is excellent. That is an excellent price for this. Fantastic. $20, you get the hardcover copy of the text, the full text in PDF form as well, that is seriously ridiculous. I don't know if it doesn't say that it's a code like a lot of them do, but
hardback copy of the book for
$20.
It says copy of the text. I'm wondering if that's no art.
It's got to be with art.
It would be weird if it wasn't.
But does that mean you're just gonna get like loose pages not bound in a book?
No,
it's hardcover.
I think it's the full book.
Yeah,
because it says that
crazy.
for all.
I don't know how he's doing that.
Hardback copy of the book.
Well, we'll just pledge in that while I'm in here. Because why not? $25, you get those soundtracks that we were talking about.
Wow.
$50, you get a poster of a monster of your choice.
That's cool.
I think
the art is really cool.
Yeah. The art is really cool, and I kind of want that crab. Like, I really kind of want that crab.
Terrifying.
Yeah, it's amazing. Then you got for shopkeepers. So yeah, I mean, I would say if you like posters, $50 is not bad. But come on, $20 for a hardcover?
That's insane.
So here's the thing.
What up?
Well, it is a very small book. It's only going to be, there's 40 monsters. Each monster only takes up 2 pages, so it's like an 80-page book.
That's
it's a pretty small supplement compared to like a typical Wizards of the Coast book. Like it's going to be pretty thin next to your Wizards of the Coast books, right?
Fair.
So I'm not trying to disparage him or anything like that.
Right.
But I also feel like people would pay more for a resource like this. So
I would agree.
I mean, we were shocked. So
yeah, I'm just saying like the market price is probably about $10 higher than that. And with 745 backers, I don't know that many of them would have said no to a $30 book versus a $20 book. I'm just saying.
So I think that's also another lesson to be learned is don't let previous campaigns deter you or from valuing what is the correct value of your product. A lot of the time, it is the marketing, it is the market, it is the general time you've launched, and it is the way you've described your product. Most of the time, especially in this case, the price I don't believe is the issue. And I think you've actually, to be quite honest, Joshua, I think you might have undervalued a little bit, and that happens. Maybe that's due to previous campaigns and you wanting to pull it back and make sure it succeeds. But also make sure you value what you have here. You have a great product. You have awesome tracks and all this kind of stuff. And I think Joe's right. I think probably about $10 more on each level would also be just as appropriate.
If nothing else, you're $20 closer to your goal.
Yeah.
So, because I just pledged that one. I think it's gonna be great. I'm excited about it.
Honestly, I'm gonna back this for the PDF copy because I feel like this is just a great resource to have.
$10, that's a steal.
Yeah, $10 to get 40 like really cool.
We always say $20 for the PDF is good. Like we're happy there. $10 is a steal.
Like honestly, 40 really cool, well fleshed out monsters is
layers.
Phenomenal, right?
It's amazing.
To me, that's 10 encounters.
Anyone listening, this is $20. Go back this.
Entire quest. I am basically paying for like 15, 20 sessions of D&D, basically, because I will build an entire encounter around each of these monsters. I don't know what to do with the CR2 rating ones at this point, but
it's true. I want to throw in some of those 30s just to see what happens, though. Oh my god, that would be fun.
I don't even think that like players are meant to fight
CR30s. They're just there for show. They're there to be in the background for people to be scared of them.
You got 4 level 20 players.
No, but like if you think about it, like I have 4 level 8 players that also have like.
Wait, we're level 7.
Yeah. Oh, sorry. I have 4 level.
Wait.
I have 4 level 7 players, and they have an NPC fighting with them, and like a Hydra is like a CR level 10, and it kind of like beat the hell out of them. They beat it, but they were. I'm just saying, like,
disagree. Okay.
I'm just saying, like, I feel like the CR rating of 30, like, you would need straight up level 20 players. So, like, that's the only
one shot. That's one shot status. So basically, you're getting a free one shot too. So back it. It's amazing.
So what would you roll this, Hannah?
I mostly for the insane price, but the art is great. The concept is great. I am giving this a 16 plus 1 for an incredible price. You need to get this before he realizes and upset because
this is a steal.
It's a steal, and I'm so happy.
Don't wait for the relaunch of this campaign.
Yeah, grab this now.
He takes our advice and raises the price. Get it now.
You're welcome.
Giving it away.
You're welcome. This is Halfling Hannah Steals. That's what this little segment was. Enjoy.
Well, so that brings us to my first project of the night, and again, as I mentioned, I am getting into DMing, and I'm super excited. But that means I am also talking to anyone who DMs, like Hannah and Joe here. I am looking for resources as much as I can and trying to learn, and that's where we start right now with the practical guide to becoming a great GM. Now, this is a 250-page book packed with all the tools you'll need to begin and master the GM journey. They've raised $229,000, almost 4,000 backers, and Guy Sklanders, who also has a very big following. These guys have a big following on YouTube already, and they've worked with some great people here. I believe they've also worked with someone we have previously talked about, which is Satine Phoenix, was also in another project that we mentioned a bunch of episodes ago. But this is insane, and I'll go into everything that comes into here. So I'm going to go ahead and scroll down what comes inside this book, and each one has a specific chapter dedicated to it. So for example, where do good ideas come from? How to expand your imagination, discover your GM style, the strength and weaknesses of your style, constraints of a GM, why they make you stronger, expectations on how to use them, how to set goals, choosing a world, create a living world, make a campaign. All of these amazing, super in-depth, it almost goes into the psychology of being a DM. Actually, it does. And this is like, so let's say you start with the DM handbook, right? The basic Wizards of the Coast book. This is, if you're looking down the middle, if we treat that as down the middle, this is that extra, I am sitting down and I am looking the super in-depth, the minutia of every aspect of being a DM. And this is something that you are studying down to the tiny little bit. This is not something that personally I would just drop into like on the table as I'm being a DM, right? This is a very much behind the scenes book, and please disagree with the arm because I haven't even jumped into it yet. But from my perspective, this is something that if you are going to be doing pre-made campaigns, my gut tells me that this is not going to be as useful as it can be. This seems like someone who's trying to also get more into homebrewing, and it might be a little bit more useful. That being said, that doesn't mean it won't be. But this, to me, seems like it's something that's like, I'm creating so much more, and to squeeze as much juice out of this book as I can, I gotta make something from scratch. That was my initial thought. And again, I'm approaching these types of, and that's why I wanted to talk about this project along with another one later, because from my perspective as someone who's looking for these tools to get into becoming a DM, that's my immediate impression based on what I'm looking at. Is this going to be something that's going to be too overwhelming for me? Or is this something that explains everything I need, but at the same time, if I'm just running a base, for example, I'm running Mines of Phandelver. That's, the stereotypical, like, straight one, like, campaign that you run for the first time. Is this something that's going to be useful to me just for that campaign right now? Or is this something that after that I dip my toes in the water, now I can really discover what kind of DM I want to be? So let's open it up to discussion, because there's a ton here.
Yeah. So I'll say this. When you're looking at a D&D pledge, something that you're going to buy, right? I actually have right here a huge pledge for a big old Kickstarter that I backed called Southlands, which is like a big Egyptian-themed Kickstarter, right? When I'm backing something, or when I'm looking at a resource that I'm going to use for D&D, just like the Player's Handbook or the DM's Guide, I don't feel like these are resources that are meant to be sat down and read cover to cover, right? I don't think tabletop resources are meant to be absorbed that way or meant to be used that way. There's no real reason that I would have backed the Fearsome Foes and Where to Fight Them and just read all of the monster lore. I would have flipped through that book, found the ones that I found the most intriguing or the one that fit the story that I was telling at the time, and said, oh, this is a really cool monster. I'm going to pull this out and I'm going to use this monster right now for this session, right? I feel like for a book like this, what you should be looking at is not, is this going to be too overwhelming, but saying like, will this help me? Yes or no. And yes, getting the book and saying like, okay, what part of this book do I want to start looking at now? Not sitting down and treating it like a textbook where you have to read all of it and be graded on it. I feel like most D&D resources are things where you pick little pieces of to use as your own and to make yourself better.
Yeah, I don't know if there's anything that I've read all the way through. I barely touched the DMG, to be honest. Didn't find it terribly useful. But I think that this would be just as useful if you're running a pre-written adventure, to go back to your point, than it would if you're running a homebrew, because either way, you want to be a good dungeon master.
That's fair.
Whether you are running someone else's story or your own story, there's going to be elements of you that are put on that. Like, I'm running Curse of Strahd because I like the story, and I decided I've never run a pre-written adventure before. I want to see what it's about. And I still add my own flavor, my own encounters, my own idea. I change some stories, get rid of some stuff, keep other things. It's still Curse of Strahd, but it's my take on it, which is what the DM styles are about. My DM style, if I had to guess what it is like the Pirates of the Caribbean, where it's like, they're more of a guideline, right? Yeah. That's how I approach everything. Everything is a guideline, and if it doesn't fit, I'm not doing it. So knowing your style of things, knowing what you're prone to have problems with or struggle with, knowing how to deal with murder hobos when you didn't expect to have murder hobos, right? Yep. Or knowing how to deal with the person who literally only wants to do role playing and nothing else. Like, those are questions that I feel like this is going to answer that would be super helpful for GMs regardless of what you're running or your experience level.
I'm sorry, and I swear I'm not drunk, but I feel for some reason when Hannah was starting in and she was like, I'm running Curse of Strahd, but I'm changing stuff. For some reason in my head, I expected Hannah to be like, I'm playing Curse of Strahd, but it's a musical.
Yes. Well, it is now.
So here's the thing, that because of, like, but that's Hannah. That's very much like, we laugh and joke. That wouldn't surprise us because you have a very different style of you take these and you make them into really, really well creative, really made creative stories. And I feel like looking at this, you're going to uncover, this is almost like a psychological in-depth study of the DM and what kind of person that you are going to be. This is like going to uncover psychological levels of your own mind that you might not have known before.
This could be like therapy. You never
know. It could.
It could.
And like, honestly, so much work and thought has gone into it, and it is extremely impressive. I mean, honestly, these titles are like how to set goals that, honestly, how to set goals that work. I'm just going to take that and put it to my everyday life at this point.
Yeah, right? I was like,
this
how
is a
many
super
DMs have
in-depth.
Goals? My goal is to have them actually interact with one NPC instead of kill them all. Like, that's my goal. This
is like any sort of mental aspect or type of personality that is approaching DMing can take this book and find a chapter that helps them. That's what's cool about this. And they've taken the time to reach out to people and talk with people and make sure it's designed for everyone that might pick this book up. It's crazy. It's so much work.
It's pretty cool.
It looks like it's really well laid out. It looks like the graphic design of the book too is something that's really easy to informationally absorb.
Yeah.
And I feel like I should say Satine Phoenix is not on the team.
No,
she did a review.
She did the forward actually.
She
did the forward in the book, which is great. If you go
down to the team, it's super cool. But it's mostly Guy and Derek.
Yeah,
which is pretty cool.
So let's talk about price here, because what could a book that has over 250 pages cost, and is now are we weighing the price point versus the value that you might get from it? So let's take a look here. I love the project. You receive a project updates, reserve a spot in the pledge manager. That's $7, which, to be honest, normally that's about $5. So
it's £5. It's the conversion.
That's true, £5. The entire too many books on the shelf get a high resolution PDF of the practical guide for $28. 250 pages for $28 in digital. Honestly, that seems about right. For 250 plus pages, I would probably, obviously the conversion rate, you have £20 versus $28. $20 in dollars probably would be a little bit more appropriate, but I get it. There's a conversion rate there.
Yeah. It's not our fault that currency is valued the way it is.
Right. To get the hardcover,
can't fix everything.
$62. So this is definitely more pages and more in depth than a Wizards of the Coast book that we've seen. How do you think that $62 price point, do you think that is appropriate for something like this? Because to me, I would look at that as a first-time DM, look at what includes that, and say, I would pay $62 because I just bought a $50 book that I don't think goes this in depth. So from an experienced DM, how would you approach that?
The Dungeon Master's Guide is kind of a piece of garbage, and it's not trash. The best thing in it is the magic items, and you can just buy those cards. Honestly, this is what a Dungeon Master's Guide should be. And
I would replace it in a heartbeat.
And this would take you a lot further than the Wizards of the Coast D&D guide should be. Also, I think that it seems like the content that you're going to get here is probably more valuable, if this is what you're looking for, than what you're going to get out of your typical adventure or source book resource. So I feel like it's about $10 higher than what most people are used to paying for a D&D book, but I also kind of feel like it's a different level of resource.
Yeah. So in other words, if you have the Dungeon Master's Guide from Wizards of the Coast, shred it up, put it in a fire to then read this book by.
Don't throw it away.
Resell it to some noob.
Resell it to a noob. All right. Well, I'm going to give this a roll. I think a lot of work has gone into this. I think I think the quote here, and they can, Joe, can they take your quote, is this is what the Dungeon Master's Guide should be?
Yeah.
Okay,
absolutely.
yeah. I think that
100%.
describes it exactly what it is. This is what the Dungeon Master's Guide should be. And this is amazing. It's an amazing product. So I'm going to give it, I think I'm going to give it a solid roll. I'm going to give it a 17 plus 1. I'm going to give it a +1 for the eventual psychological damage that if I decide to back this, it will eventually give me.
That's worth a +1.
That's worth a +1, right?
Psychic damage.
Exactly. +1 psychic damage. Exactly.
1d4.
Well, those were our first 3 projects. And as I mentioned before, this is our Pledge Manager for the Wanderer's Guide has officially gone live. That link is in the description. So we are going to tell you guys all about the Wanderer's Guide. So we're going to take a quick break, watch that, and then go to the link below and reserve yourself a copy. All right, we'll be back in a second.
The Wanderer's Guide is a 50-page compendium designed to enhance your fantasy RPG campaigns. Immersive, beautiful maps and artwork by Andrew Bosley. Dry erase pages for quick editing and changes as your campaign evolves. An abundance of tokens to add more character, landmarks, features, and customization to your campaign. An interactive NPC system for adding lots of variety and plot hooks for the Game Master to engage the players. Artwork featuring fun details and story elements to enhance collaborative storytelling, world building, and spark the imagination of the players and the Game Master. The Wanderer's Guide. Your world, your adventure.
So thank you so much for watching our advertisement for the Wanderer's Guide. Pre-orders are up. You can get yourself a copy now. We're not going to print a whole lot of extras this time around. We do hope to be able to offer the product in different versions and ways in the future. But we have so much that we want to offer for it. The artwork is better than anything that we've ever seen. Honestly, I'm blown away by the product and how it came together.
It's so good.
So you can go to the Kickstarter page, look at it. We're going to be sharing a lot more updates with you guys soon, but we're super excited about it. So please, if you're interested in supporting us, the Wanderer's Guide is a really good way to do it, which is pre-orders now. I'm going to talk about a product that I am super pumped about. Speaking of Kickstarters that I'm expecting on my doorstep, I am going to be talking about Iron Kingdoms, Borderlands, and Beyond. So this is a follow-up to a Kickstarter project that I went all in on, okay? Which is no surprise because I backed way too many Kickstarters. And but I went all in on Privateer Press, which was launched at the beginning of this year. It has yet to be fulfilled, but I think they're getting pretty close, called Iron Kingdoms Requiem, all right, for 5e, okay? This was the Privateer...
Coke.
This was I'm so sorry. This was Privateer Press's Iron Kingdoms campaign setting with 5th edition D&D rules. And, you know, I always used to watch people play the Iron Kingdoms miniatures games at the game store. And I've never been much of a gamer, but I loved the lore. I loved all of the factions. I loved all of...
Oh.
What?
Like the
I've
like
never
the
been much of a
gamer.
gamer. And I was like, wait.
No, like I don't like the miniatures.
Sees all the games behind him.
It's like a Warhammer style game, but on
a miniature
level.
gamer.
Yeah. I'm not really about that. Like I do board games, I do RPGs. I just have never gotten into it. But I love the lore. I love the factions. I loved how interesting the entire setting seemed to me, and I was really, really intrigued by it. But now I have an addition to our role play in that world. That's why I backed Requiem, okay? And that had your player's guide, your DM's guide, and adventure guide. It had like all of the stuff to like basically get you rolling in the world of Iron Kingdoms. But now they're coming out with a second Kickstarter with even more really cool supplements that you can get. So Borderlands and Beyond, they're offering 3 new products with this Kickstarter backing. And honestly, I can't wait to talk about it because the price on how they do their stuff is really well done. So real quick, the video is going to give you a lot of really good information if you want to jump in there and watch it. But what is the world of the Iron Kingdoms? It is arcane sciences meets steampunk meets industry meets turn of the century. It is giant mechs, steam-powered mechs with cannons fighting giant, like, mega archmages that are wielding wild magic from the edges of the universe. Like, it is giant armies
I'm here for this.
dragons marching to war against huge mechanized armies that are being churned out by an industrial megalopolis. Like, these are the things that I love. And there's something about this setting that, like, I say, I want to be a part of this world, right? I want to play a game in this steampunk, arcane, seedy, underbelly, urban Borderlands, like, just this, like, extremely in-depth thing. I think when we first talked about the Requiem Kickstarter, I think me and Hannah said, it feels like Eberron on crack.
Yes.
Like, that's what it feels like. And I know Hannah is like an Eberron stan, okay?
It is the best setting. I will say it. It is the best.
I think Iron Kingdoms is like just cranked up to 11. It really, really
seems so like much fun.
A phenomenal place to play a game in, okay? So what are they offering? The books that they're offering, there are 3 products. They're offering the Borderlands and Beyond, okay? This is a new source book that includes 5 new races, 3 new classes, and 25 subclasses. So this is like your typical expanding the genre type of stuff. It has backgrounds, adventuring companies. It has all of this information about the ancient and untamed lands that lay beyond the civilized borders. So this is like really getting out there into like the wilderness area, where the other one was more focused on the inner cities where the civilization was mainly focused at. It has over 100 new spells, unique weapons, items, all of this really cool stuff. Another really cool option is, because steampunk is a huge thing, you can play a warjack, which is basically like in Eberron, they're like a call a warforged, right? But they give you a lot of options to customize your warjacks here, which are really, really cool. So you can like kind of like build your own mech in a way, which just sounds like such a cool thing. The other thing that they have is the Borderlands Survival Guide. So this is the GM's resource for psychological maladies, perils, relics, and monsters found in the wilds of the Iron Kingdom's Requiem campaign setting. So this is like your DM's guide that kind of like walks you through what you should know if you're running a campaign in the Borderlands area. It's going to have a ton of really cool stuff. And then, of course, there is a third book, which is called Shadows of the Seeker, which is an adventure that you can run in the Iron Kingdom setting. So it is a setting. Does this say, it says blah, blah, blah. It gives you a little background into it, but it doesn't actually say what levels it's for, but maybe it's able to, scale up. If this sounds like something that is interesting to you, if this sounds like something that is of value, if this is a place where you want to play, you are not going to get better resources than this. You are not going to get better art, a better setting with deep, deep history. I have seen so many custom campaign settings, but to have something that has already been that this company has been spending the better part of 25 years building the lore and the history of the world that you're playing in. This is something you're going to really love. If the idea of steampunk, mechs, arcane magics, dragons, all of this like mixed into this like fused pseudo modern society, this is something that you really can't turn your back on. And honestly, I'm all in on this. I am when I finish my current long-term campaign that I'm playing in right now, which who knows when that's going to end, I am going to start a Iron Kingdoms RPG.
Just take us through a portal and put us in there.
Dude. Suddenly you appear there. Dude. It looks so good. Yeah, like insane. There's nothing else you can really say. It just looks so good.
There's so much here.
The art. I love the art.
I would just read a graphic novel of this whole thing.
Oh yeah, that's something that I feel like would be really cool in a lot of these setting books.
Novel, like that's
a companion graphic novel for the lore or something would be dope.
I could only imagine how expensive producing something like that would be.
I know, but I'd be here for it. It's a cool concept.
All right, let's talk.
How much does it cost?
Yeah. So this is really good. Excuse me.
No.
So. If you want the main book, the Borderlands and Beyond, digital is $25, the paper is $50. Okay, but this is where it gets really good. You can get all 3 digital books for $50 or all 3 physical books for $100. So basically, according to most D&D rules, that's $33 a book, guys.
Yeah, that's a great deal.
An incredible
wow
value. And that's what they did for the Requiem too. They offered 3 different books, and it was $100 to get all of them. And I'm like, that's an easy way to drop a Benjamin, right?
Yep.
So when you basically offer 3 books for $33, I'm kind of like, yeah, this is a really good opportunity.
Agreed. So wow, holy crap.
Yep.
That's awesome.
Do not miss
That's really cool.
All right, wow. Honestly, there's not much to say because it's like, it is what it is that you're gonna get, and I feel like people might look at this and say, well, they didn't say, but I'm gonna be honest. There's just, it is what it is, and it speaks for itself. And those are kind of the best ones where we don't really have to say much and just go, yeah, agreed.
Great.
Yeah, this is great. This is
great.
In on it.
Here for it. It's
so,
amazing.
Joe, what would you give this project in terms of a roll?
I am going to roll this one a straight up 19.
Ooh.
I was expecting a 20. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm not giving it a 20, and here's the reason. The reason I'm not giving it a 20 is because as excited I am for new product and dropping $100 more on this thing, I don't have the first books that were offered on Kickstarter yet. I'm a backer, and they haven't shipped to me yet, so I haven't even been able to look at them, see them, play with them. We have so many ideas for the Wanderer's Guide, but we're not touching any of those ideas until we deliver the first product. And I think that that's something that, matters to me. I know that this is a reputable company. I know that they are already making the books. I know that they're in freight, and maybe they had this Kickstarter ready and it's a good time to launch. I get that. I completely understand. But at the same time, I am just a slight bit of me says, I wish I would be able to have at least received and looked at the first books before I had to make a decision on whether or not to back these.
So here's something that I think also, before we jump into the next one, right now, and this is something as a Kickstarter as a whole, and I think is something to just talk about really quickly, is Kickstarters around the entire platform, especially in terms of not even just Kickstarters, but general shipping right now is a nightmare. It's an absolute nightmare around the world. My day job is I work for a toy company in the US, and comparatively to we're hearing all around the grapevine that over the holidays, that toy shopping for the holidays is going to be a nightmare because all these industries are experiencing shipping shortages. So it's a huge shame because a lot of these Kickstarters are experiencing such huge hikes in shipping that some of these companies quite literally are going under because of shipping costs. Yeah. And it's a nightmare. So just something to keep in mind that a lot of these creators out there are having to deal with that. And if you see, any sort
maybe go digital
or just
go digital when you can.
Take a look and just keep in mind that a lot of these things are subject to change, and especially right now, just be aware. Yeah,
I have noticed that too. All right, mine, we're going to go simple for my second one. Very, very minimalist on this Kickstarter page, but I think there's a little bit of charm to that. So we are going to go over to Morrovion's, I think is how we decided to say that. Morrovion's Guide to Gambling. This is 40 dice games to play in-game in your tabletop playing game or as standalone games. I love the idea of having games that you can play, like in-game games that your players can have proficiencies in and play, because one of your proficiencies that you get in your background is a gambling set, but they only give you like 3 Dragon Ante is all that you have. This gives you a whole lot more options. And one of the reasons why this one caught my eye is that it already has $13,000 and 395 backers. And like I said, it is a very minimalist Kickstarter page. This is interesting. There's not a lot of art. It's literally just text, but people want this enough to where it's getting their attention and people are backing that. So here's what you get with this. So you get 120 illustrated pages filled with 40 dice games from back alley games, casino games, family games, and tavern games. It tells you a description of it, what dice you need to play it, and how to play it as a game. It also is how to roleplay a gambler, types of gamblers, casino slang to use in role-playing, which would be very helpful for me. I know nothing about casinos. Honestly, that would be great. At least 3 custom gambling-related character backgrounds. Love this. I am sick and tired of there being so few backgrounds in D&D to give players flavor. I have to homebrew everything. So this is super cool. So instead of just being a charlatan, just being a criminal or whatever, you have a couple of gambler options on here, which I think could make some really cool characters out of. Then you have 3 custom gambling related magical items.
Ooh.
You have every game is introduced by Morrovion or one of his friends, the illustrations by a couple of really great artists, lore on gambling, and lots of role-playing fun. So it gives you what is going to be their index, so you can see all of the different things that are going to be on there, which is cool, but that's all that you get. You get, here's what we're going to do. You don't get any examples of it, which of course is going to be one of the big drawbacks to this. It's like, we'd really like to see the layout. We'd really like to see a couple of these games that you have on here, which look super fun. Don't get me wrong. Like, I would love to know more about Nerve. Like, I'm guessing that maybe is something like Russian roulette, which would be super cool. Well, you got Drop Dead roulette, so maybe not. Like there's just a whole spinning spider,
games.
crag, dragon's breed, game of owls, murder,
Delirium.
King Poker.
What was it?
Lich King Poker.
Lich King Poker. I like that. Poor
so
Sods.
many different ones.
Ranger's Grief. Like, there's tons of stuff in here. I'd love to know what maybe a couple of those are. That would be really cool. If maybe, if you do an update on here or something, tell us what some of those things are, because that would be super cool. But I think DMs are kind of desperate for things to do in the tavern,
Yeah.
It's exhausting to make each one of your taverns unique, but here you have 40 ways to make your taverns unique.
I think
Maybe they got a game going in the back room,
or
and you can just make
have
one of
different
these.
gambling games that are different in different regions of your world. So as your players travel throughout the world, there are different dice games that are part of that culture that you can,
But they can teach to other people, or start in a bar and be like,
if one thing that we learned from video games, people love mini games.
Oh my gosh.
Mini games in a game are super fun, and people will take the time.
What's that one in The Witcher?
Gwent.
Gwent.
Thank you.
Gwent. Yep. I stopped playing The Witcher after I discovered Gwent.
Like, people love mini games, especially if you, like, for example, if I'm in a tavern, right, and I'm saying, because Joe's done this, you're spending that in the tavern. What would you like to do? If, like, for example, Joe, if like there was a situation where you said you see a group of people playing some game in the corner, I would probably want to walk over there and see what the game is. And if I could play in it, I'm going for it.
Yeah.
So I've thought about this, and I know of a DM that actually, when he plays in person, but he keeps a copy of Liar's Dice, the board game, at the table, and if people want to gamble, he'll NPC and role play, and they'll just sit at the table and they'll just play Liar's Dice with each other. And not have to roll for whatever to see if they win money. They will just sit down and play a game of Liars.
That's
I
fun.
have a whole YouTube video that is a bunch of games that you can actually play in person for tavern games and stuff. So every time they go to a tavern, you can pull out this little game that doesn't require a lot of explanation. It's not a big thing. Like, some of them are even like try and get the thing on a loop on a hook. Kind of a thing, and the quickest one to do it wins. Like, just stuff like that. I think it adds so much depth and reality to your world. Like, it's
a
fun.
little difficult if you're playing digitally, that's for sure.
That's true.
Well, in this case, because it is dice, you can just roll the dice. So you don't have to do any of the in-world stuff like I would do with mine. All of these are dice, and I point down here because my phone's here, not because I'm weird. All of these are dice, okay? So if you play digitally, you can still explain what the game is and still play it, but it's all different varieties of the dice that you roll for it, which is, and it explains how to do that, which is super cool. So it's just another one of those world-building flavor, detail kind of things that I, as a DM, absolutely love. I love adding things in there. Plus, it gives some player options, which is never a bad thing.
No.
So if you have a player who's like, I'd like to play someone who's a professional gambler or something like that, this is the resource that you need. It will give them a background for that.
Yeah, cool. So how much does it cost?
Cool. Excellent question. Let me go. Let me go back. I'm not prepared. A couple weeks off, and it's not good. Okay, so $18 is your digital edition, which is closer to like what we're used to seeing, around the $20. And your name in the book, which is super cool. How many pages did I say that this was? 100 and something?
40.
140.
It's at least that, because there's the appendice goes to 118.
Yeah, yeah, I think it's at 140. This is a lot of information about gambling. Guys, this is all you ever need to know about gambling for $18. I think that's pretty great. Or you can get the hardcover edition. That's going to be $41, which is normal for what we've seen.
Something to note here, they do say that the pledge level does not include shipping fees.
Right. Which we just talked about could be awful. Could be as much as the book.
Backer kit will collect those.
After it ends.
It's very common that shipping fees are not included.
Right. So. Like, I'm not saying it is not to back it. It's just like, just
a note.
Something to keep in mind.
Just a note.
Yep. $47, you get the hardcover and the PDF. I don't necessarily like it when they do that. I like it when the hardcover edition includes the PDF.
Yeah. I really believe that if you buy the physical version of the book,
just get the PDF.
Give you the
I
PDF.
think so too. I'm glad we're in agreement there. I really think that you should.
Roll it.
Roll this. Of course, I think the digital is the way to go here. Just because the Kickstarter page doesn't have as much information as I would really like to see, I am going to be giving this a 14, but a +1 for incredible usefulness. I love this concept. This is something that's sorely lacking, and I think it's fantastic. So 15 total on this. I think it is an excellent pickup just to add to your campaign.
You think he's doing the dice thing too much?
Still going. I thought maybe if I talked for a while, he'd stop. Nope, still going.
Well, so as I mentioned before, I'm obviously on the lookout for resources to, and Steve Vanderark just backed this. Nice job, Steve. That's awesome.
There you go. I think it's great.
So I'm on the lookout for DM companions and things that'll help me learn how to be a DM. We've talked about the one that is quite literally the most in-depth DM companion book that we will probably ever see. Let's talk about the opposite of that.
I love the juxtaposition of reviewing how to be a great DM and
how to be, for example, the lazy DM, or what we're going to talk about today is the lazy DM's companion. And now after reviewing this, I feel like it is less the lazy DM. I feel like there's definitely the opportunity for the lazy DM, but also a DM who wants to DM, but is much more left brain and is not good as thinking on their feet, but also wants something that'll help them think on their feet. And I think this is what will help them. So it's a book of 5e RPG guidelines and inspirational generators to help DMs prepare and run awesome tabletop games. Now, this is something that essentially you can have next to you as the opposite of you sit down, you read through, you learn a lot more about your overall psychological approach. This is something that you are sitting down and you need something that is going to generate for you quickly. You could be lazy. Perhaps, or you could be someone who's just not great at thinking on their feet but really wants to DM and just needs something that's going to give them the extra oomph. This is a 64-page softcover book, so this is not going to be something that's going to be that large. It is something that is, like I said, really quick. You set on the table. It comes with guidelines to streamline 5e, adventure generators, tools, and general purpose maps as well. Joe comes with some maps for you. They also have a 17-page free sample at the very top of this page, which is great. So you click right on that and you can see immediate 14 pages. There's a full introduction. There's how do you use these random tables, guidelines, tools for improvisation. I'm not going to go through all of this because we would love for you to go ahead and click on this page and see through yourself. All of these different building an RPG group, RPG safety tools, potentially, they even have sections on potentially sensitive topics, which is really interesting. I love to see that because one thing I'm also looking into is session zeros. And if you are new to DMing, a session zero can essentially help you, one, help them plan a character, but also overall allowing your players to get to know one another, establish your guidelines as a group. What are sensitive topics that you might not want to talk about? What are things that you want to set the guidelines for each group when you meet, all these sort of things to help everyone get acclimated to what your sessions are going to be. And that is a session zero. And these types of things I really like that they kind of go into that a little bit. They have all these different building situations. So example locations, complications, example goals, campaign pitches. For example, you roll a d20 here and you roll an 11. Dismantle the Empire of the White Blade. Done. Now you have something to jump off of. You can keep rolling for certain things or you can go off of that. There are a lot of things here. We won't go through everything, but we'll go ahead and show this companion map as well. And the art is really cool at the very last page of this. The art is really cool and unique. I really like the approach. It reminds me of the game Vast. It has that kind of angly, kind of unique, sketchy style visual, and I really like that a lot. So let's go back onto this page here. All these things that come into it, playing RPGs online, running single session games, teaching new players, strong starts, but it's less of the psychological, more of the very simple, and also here's some charts that'll help you do that.
It is a lot of random tables.
Yeah,
it's a lot of random tables. It's a lot of random generators. It's a lot of generators. And that's the goal. It's you roll a dice, you go through this whole book, and pretty much randomly generate everything. Again, it is the lazy guides.
Yeah, it's true. I'm not a random DM.
We say random, right? And like, does random mean random, or does random mean look through the list and pick the one?
You could pick the one you want, unless you want to be random.
It's true.
I would never roll a die and be like, oh, a wolf appeared.
I would.
Yeah.
I would, because I'm gonna let the dice take the wheel and go. Let's see where we end up.
In the woods. Yeah. My other thing is there's a lot of words.
A lot of words. That would be my one thing.
And just the one map, it would have been really nice to have something to break that up.
Yep, I agree. I think they have like a visual brand here. They really do. They have the labels. They have a lot of that. I feel like a lot of this can be converted into graphics. No problem in that at all. A GIF or two showing someone literally just roll dice and highlighting someone generating an adventure just to get the point across. Nice. So this is, and to be quite honest, I skipped over everything, but this is by Mike Shea, 7 previously created Kickstarters. So this is also someone who has a YouTube channel as well, I believe. They've raised...
He does a lot more on his website. He writes a lot of articles. Yeah.
They've raised $285,000. So they've raised a lot of money. There are a lot of lazy DMs out there.
It's a good following.
And they only have 8 days to go, so definitely check this out. And Steve says in the bottom here in the comments that he's already backed this. He finds that the random generators just gives him things to for your imagination to jump off of, and that could definitely be the case. I think there's definitely ways to utilize these random generators, and you could quite literally just let it take the wheel or just use it as an idea generator. Perfectly fine. Do you guys have any other thoughts on this, or do you want me to talk about price points?
Yeah, so this, I get the gimmick, and I get the gimmick. It's not a gimmick, but I get the mentality of saying like the lazy DM's companion, right? Really, this is just a very broad GM's tool, right? This is just a tool. To me, what being a lazy DM is literally not prepping at all for your adventure, showing up to be the dungeon master, getting on and literally just being like, all right, what do you guys want to do? And just
that's pretty lazy.
I feel like what being a lazy DM is putting it all on the players. And I feel like that's bad. And I feel like that's being a bad dungeon master. And someone told me at one point, like, oh, that's the best way to DM. Players will decide what they want to do. And I'm like, I feel like players want more. I feel like players
you need to give them the sandbox.
Players want you.
I feel like you need to give them toys in the sandbox too.
Yeah,
so they know what to do in the sandbox, so they don't just take a giant poo in it. You know what I mean?
So I feel like that's the
There's
best
your quote of the night.
Yeah,
I feel like that's the best thing to do.
I agree.
I'm not gonna lie. There's a lot of times that I kind of like prep for a session 30 minutes before time and kind of just get like a couple of monster stats and maybe find a map online and like I'm ready to go. I will also say one of the best things that happens to me is when I prep out a really robust session and then we end halfway through and I'm like, I don't have to prep next week.
Done, because you just finish it next time. Yeah, I think this is great for someone who is trying. I think Steve also said the same thing in the comments. It's a great way to just break out of old ideas too. If you find yourself repeating, this is something that's not going to be, again, it's the simpler version of what we already talked about today. This is something that you grab, you use every once in a while. It helps you break out of routines. It helps you maybe break out of a funk. And it helps you generate, maybe if that's just not how your brain functions, right?
Yep.
So let's talk about price point here. Access to backer kit's just $2. The companion PDF and VTT map pack, so virtual tabletop map pack, $10. Pretty simple. $10 for all this. I'm gonna be honest, I most likely would end up going virtual tabletop and digital version of this. Not a lot of pages. Double the cost for the PDF, the full Lazy DM series. There's a full companion PDF, Return of the Lazy Dungeon Master. So there's another book as well, original Lazy Dungeon Master PDF. So this is a whole book of PDFs for double the cost. So there are multiple versions of this. Then the print in PDF is $25. That doesn't seem that bad to me. Again, mine's less of the choosing the correct cost, more of would I use the printed version.
Right.
So then you have the print and PDF, get the three main, all of them, the entire series for $75. Again, it depends. I don't think this is one thing that I would look at it and go, I need it all, right? You have some charts. I think this is one of those really easy supplements. You're like, yeah, you know what? I could use this. I'll grab the PDF. To me, that's how I personally am approaching it. If we take a look here, the companion PDF is $10. You have 1,200 backers, 2,100 for the entire series as a PDF, and then 2,100. It's split for the series, the entire series as a PDF, and just this book as a main copy. They have almost the exact same amount of backers for one PDF versus all the books versus one physical copy of just this book. So that's something to consider. I'm going to go ahead and give this a roll. I think, again, very simple, very something that I would pick up really quickly, something that could help me get out of a funk. Not something I would absolutely need, but it definitely has its uses. I am going to give this a just solid roll of 15. I think this has a lot to offer, but at the same time, it's made to be a lazy person's guide. It's supposed to be simple, and it's supposed to translate that. So I'm going to adjust as such. So those have been our next 3 projects. Now we're going to take another quick break and hear from Hannah herself about her channel, and definitely go check it out. We will be right back.
Hello humanoids, I'm Halfling Hannah, the creator behind Halfling Hobbies. And here at Halfling Hobbies, you are going to find DM resources and only DM resources. We are here for dungeon masters, creating all sorts of things from puzzle templates and downloadable puzzles to DM binder pages, NPCs, loot cards, everything that you could possibly need to help give your game advantage. All of it comes with a healthy serving of food and drink, along with that special halfling hospitality. So grab a mug of ale and a slice of cake, sit back, relax, and dig in to Halfling Hobbies.
We're back.
Hey everybody, we're back. We've got 3 more projects we're going to talk about, and we're really excited about them. Planegea. the Prehistoric 5th edition campaign setting. Discover a world of raw action, primordial horror, and mythic awe in Planegea for 5e. Launched today, almost 600 backers, almost $50,000
already.
Atlas Games. They've been around for a while. They do board games, RPG products. They kind of have their fingers in a lot of different pies in the tabletop industry. Really great company, and they've been doing a lot of what?
I've never heard that saying.
You've never heard someone say they've got their fingers in a lot of pies?
No.
He said it before, and I giggle every time because it's just a funny saying.
Maybe I just missed it. I've just never heard that.
Yeah, that's I'm pretty sure
pies.
that's pretty ubiquitous.
Like, a lot of pies.
I've got my fingers in a lot of different pies. Like,
you shouldn't put your fingers in pies.
Yeah, that's such a mean. Like, what if you were sitting at someone, you had a pie, and someone went, "Hey, how's that pie?"
Oh, there's another pie.
Well, I think it has to do more like
Making
pie
pies?
Charts, right? Like, I think yes, it's weird to think about like just in pies, but like.
We got on a tangent. Sorry.
I'm sorry.
You don't have to justify it. Go ahead. Right. Keep talking about it.
Justify it. We're talking about dinosaurs, guys. All right, we're talking about dinosaurs.
Dinosaurs and pies.
Have you ever wanted to play an RPG in which the entire world was a dangerous jungle infested with humongous beasts that could kill and crush your players without thinking twice? This is what this campaign is. This is Prehistoric 5e. And no, it's not necessarily caveman, but this is like before the dawn of civilization. This is throwing the taverns and throwing the cities and the monarchies and throwing all that out the window and saying you have small collectives, maybe some tribes, maybe some savages that are kind of grouped together. But this is a wild, dangerous wilderness world that is infested with humongous dinosaurs. Okay. Prehistoric fantasy. So this is a primordial setting, okay?
This is so cool.
The sneak peek is amazing.
It's still your traditional sword and sorcery. There is still magic. There are still warriors. There are still all of your typical D&D tropes, but none of it is based upon a civilized world. It is much more ancient than that. There are no universal gods. These are some of the hooks that they talk about. Proto-gods. There are no universal gods. Gods are physical entities such as bears, trees, or waterfalls that have gathered magical power. I like that. There are giant empires between mortal lands and elemental waste, saying the four empires of giants. So not giant empires, giant empires, right?
Like this many arms, the moody god of the clever ape clan. Oh my god.
So cool.
You have new subclasses, new backgrounds, new kinships, 350 pages worth of material. You're going to get all kinds of really cool stuff. But really, this is something that's a little bit, I definitely suggest if you're interested, this is a really good video. This is one of the videos that like I watch, and like I love it when they try to be funny and make like a silly video. If you go watch the Atlas video, I enjoyed that one. But I really like the video for this one because I watched it and I was like, I know exactly what you're doing. Like I totally understand the product fully. And I really like this. Like it's not difficult to understand what it is. This is monsters. This is dinosaurs in D&D.
So really quick, I'm looking at like the Tricerator and Leatherwing spell skin. Can I just the Leatherwing is clearly an anthropomorphized pterodactyl.
Yeah.
But the Tricerator is literally just a Triceratops on two legs.
Yeah.
I'm gonna be honest. It looks
sure. It's
I don't know. I've seen some bodybuilders that look like that.
It's like a sentient dinosaur race.
Yeah.
I know, but it's less. Again, I'm being picky, but at the same, I look at that and it looks like they just kind of lifted it up, and I kind of would have liked a little bit more of a change.
Doesn't a minotaur just kind of look like the same thing for a bull?
but it's more it looks more human-like. I think it's like this is like in between. Like if this was an anamorph between Triceratops and person, and I'm deep cutting on those books where it would transform into a Triceratops. This is like more towards the Triceratops. This is like one step towards the Triceratops, and I'm thinking we need to go one back towards the person. You know what I mean?
Yeah, like I could see like I think it's mostly because the head is totally Triceratops.
That's what I'm saying. I think it's literally just the Triceratops.
Yeah. But I'm looking at the other one
cool.
going, well, the other one's not really person-y either.
I think the
it's
other
just
one's a
little
not
bit
as
more unique.
I think it's because it has like a belly button and like more of
it's
like
more human,
like a human torso,
humanoid.
Yeah.
That's what I mean. I think and the only reason I say that is because we're scrolling through, and I'm literally just, you compare the two. You end up comparing the two. And it just, I noted it as funny.
The elves are super cool.
So
Elves
this
are really
is
cool.
a really, really amazing product, I think.
Yeah.
I'm really excited about it. There's so much content that's going to be in here. You can look at the table of contents that they have
So much.
ready for you to look at. And you can kind of get a rough idea of all of the things that are going to be in here. But the content is just explosive. They are going all in on this. So when you back this, there is a really cool deluxe looking edition, by the way. And I'm not usually a fan of the deluxe edition books, but I really did like this. There is a adventure called The Lair of the Night Thing. There is a soundtrack that you can use for this. There is
Love that.
there is
That was good.
There are 20-page long digital releases called The Echoes of Pangea, which is basically like stories that you can run through. It looks like there's a lot of content that they're trying to put in here, and I think that it's going to be something that is going to attract a number of people. I am gonna be honest here, right? I don't know how I feel about playing Dinosaur D&D. Like
DN dinosaurs.
Yeah.
Dungeons and Dinosaurs.
Dungeons and Dinos, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know how I feel about it right now, right? If somebody was like, Joe, do you want to play in a primordial D&D dinosaur campaign, right?
If you said yes, this would be it, though.
Yeah, like this is
if you said yes, this would be it.
This is the best dinosaur supplement you can buy for D&D. That's I don't know that that's a hard thing.
Well, I'll just tell you, one of the reasons why I love Eberron so much is that there are dinosaurs in it. Yeah. And I love that. So give me more dinosaurs and I'm more happy. So
are you interested in playing in a completely uncivilized D&D
Heck yes.
Kind of.
Heck yes. Absolutely. So Horizon Zero Dawn, one of my favorite video games. Yes. Bring it. Are you agreeing with me or are you disagreeing with me? Because I'm ready to fight. We're on the same page.
Horizon Zero Dawn is one of my favorite games, and it's
one of the most amazing games ever. And that's basically, it's like that, only they're not robot dinosaurs, they're real dinosaurs, right? And you're just playing that world.
The cover of this, it looks like, the cover of this is funny because the art is absolutely incredible, but the way they've structured the cover of this looks like those t-shirts. And again, not a bad thing, Steve. I know you said it looks like those t-shirts with like Abe Lincoln riding on like a dinosaur. It looks like those t-shirts mixed with like a Star Wars poster.
So true.
And it makes
I don't know if they needed to go there.
Makes it look sillier than it is because the art is incredible. But I would look at that and I go, this looks badass. I would totally grab it because it looks so badass.
Here's my drawback, right?
I want it.
My drawback. I've never played Horizon Zero Dawn, right? So for me, I do not have a reference point for how to run this game.
Yeah.
Sure.
So I would need to play in this game. I do not feel like I could be a good DM because so much of what I borrow for what makes me a good DM is I've watched Game of Thrones, I've watched Lord of the Rings, I've read D&D supplement books, I've read Forgotten Realms books, I was a geek all of my life growing up, so I have so much like sword and sorcery fantasy, high fantasy stuff in my brain that I can just pull from.
Yeah.
I don't have a lot of prehistoric like ideas of what that might look like. I just don't. I don't have like reference points. Like, and I feel like playing like a game, like a narrative game, like a Horizon Zero Dawn, where like you have seen a world like this and you can draw inspiration from it, will help you run a game because you can just like borrow ideas, and I don't have any of that. So to me, this feels very strange. It feels very foreign, but it's also very intriguing. So the answer is, does this excite me? I would want to play. I would like to play like a short campaign in this world and learn more about it. And I am in for that. Am I in for DMing an entire prehistoric campaign? Not me. But I think that there are a lot of people that will be interested in doing that, right? The Iron Kingdom setting grabbed me. This setting intrigues me, but it is not something where I'm drooling and salivating and being like, this is for me. But I do understand that there is probably a massive market for people that want to play in this type of setting. And I think it's really, really cool.
Yeah, I agree. Super cool.
All right.
I'm in for it.
Digital. Alex, do you want to play Dungeons and Dinos?
Yeah, I'd be down.
Yeah. All right. Digital. $20. $20 for the digital. All right.
$20. About, again, what we expect.
Yep.
Yeah, you can get everything digital, so all the stretch goals and content and all of that and the music and everything. If you just want the book, it's $20. If you want all the digital stuff, and they offer you a digital GM screen, which kind of feels a little weird to me, but hey, whatever.
Works for my ultra wide monitor, I suppose.
Yeah. Oh, good point. $45 if you want all of that digital content. But now we have standard book and PDF. So you get the hardcover and the digital book. $60. And this is a big boy. So
He's a big boo. He's a big boo.
$60. And then if you want all in, if you are a like, I was trying to think of a good
fan
dinosaur
of dinosaurs. If you are if you are the T-Rex of
Megalodon.
Yeah.
If you are a Collectosaurus.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Good job, Joe.
Kleptosaurus.
Yeah, you are going to get the Chieftain, which is everything. So you get the book, you get the digital adventures, you get all of the stuff. That's $125. Honestly, I think $60 is the place that you want to be for this. The art looks great. For a resource, it's 350 pages. I could not see looking at that digitally and getting much out of it. I really need the physical book for something that nature.
Sticky notes. Be important.
I don't know, guys. This is really cool. I am leaning towards a 17.
That's a great roll.
I'm going to lean towards a 17. And I
probably would have given it a little higher. But
the reason I'm maybe a little bit lower is because the theme, even though I think it's really worth talking about and worth reviewing, I am just not as hot on this theme as I think other dino enthusiasts might be.
Sure. That's very fair.
Well, that's one of our dinosaur projects that we're going to talk about tonight.
Yep.
Spoilers.
Spoilers.
Not for me. I'm gonna go away from the dinos, which now I kind of wish I hadn't. But oh well. We could have just done the whole dino segment. My final Kickstarter of the night is called Highfane Peaks. This is 5 torches deep, Highfane Peaks. They have just met their goal, so congratulations to you guys. They're
nice.
at the 5,000 of what they wanted to reach. They got 322 backers.
Snaps.
And this is a really interesting concept that I really want to talk about because it's different than what we've just looked at, like starkly different. We had 350 pages. This is minimalist, which you don't see a lot of.
But there's a goat night.
Jeez.
He got very excited about that.
There's a goat night.
Why are you so excited about? Do you like goats? I'm not. I just don't understand.
You just scared the living crap out
so
of me.
Cool.
I was not. Rip headphone
You
users.
killed Alex and confused me.
Rip headphone users, y'all. Maybe I should put a warning in there.
There's a goat.
Oh my god.
And there's
Oh
a
my
giant turnip. Oh my god, I love this.
Okay.
Yes, there are fun things in here. There are lots and lots
Okay,
of
sorry,
very
this is
fun
your
and strange
review.
things.
Go.
Okay. So here's the review of what this is. This whole thing centers around the concept and idea of what if dungeons weren't underground? What if dungeons were on top of mountains? That's the whole kind of concept here. And what you're going to get is you're going to get 70 plus pages of a setting guide for this. You've got a detailed mountaineering rules, because they are set up in mountains instead of underground. You have this whole set of rules for how you can get your players to those mountaintop areas. So you've got this whole mountaineering thing that you have to do.
But really quick.
Yeah.
Hey Joe, scoot your mic away from the speaker.
Was that what that is? Because it was really throwing me off.
It's still
I can
picking
hear
up.
it.
Just so we're gonna take a second just to make sure that it's not echoey for the rest of the video. We're at the last couple.
I just muted me, so it's not me.
Okay, here I'm just gonna.
There we go.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you.
Perfect.
That
just
was
wanted to
really throwing me
save
off.
save people towards the end of the video. All right.
So you got these mountaineering rules to help your players get there. You've got new lineages, classes, spells, monsters, and equipments, which is apparently goat knights that we're very excited about, and turnip people. Guidelines for adventuring in the arcanely drenched mountain range. So you've got all of this magic that's happening up in the mountains, and a high concept, which is what if they were up high instead of down low. So this is like old school plus 5e. So it's got a lot of that old school feel to it, but a lot of the newer things that 5e has to offer. What you're going to get in this book is 70 pages of content, which I told you before. It's a good amount, but it's far less than we're used to in a settings book. This is a settings book. Yeah. We're used to 250, 300 pages, like we just saw with Joe's settings.
That's too much for people, though.
Sometimes it's too much, and I want to talk about that because it's really interesting. But you get 70 pages. You get the good layout. You get those lineages. You get advanced classes. You get some new spells, 2 new spell lists, comprehensive mountaineering rules, 6 distinct areas, which I really, really like, and tools to help you build in those areas. And then new monsters, loot, food, which I always love it when they include like food and cultural like hints of things that aren't, you know, your normal cheese and bread. NPCs, taboos. I think this is a great idea. I think every region should have things that are taboo, because if you travel to a different country, you're going to offend people if you don't understand what's taboo in that culture.
That is interesting.
Right?
I like that.
Yes, again, anything that makes your world feel more real, I'm all about. So I think that is wonderful idea. And then tons of tables. A lot of people like tables. I'm not a big a fan of tables, but you know, I'm
like the kind you eat at.
No, those are okay, but I don't usually eat at one. But you know, there's the goat knight. You can ride. Oh, that makes much more sense. I was picturing a goat in shining armor.
As a knight.
A goat as a knight.
It's like a
you're riding
like
the goat.
Hun. It's like a Hun.
It's like a Hun, yeah, because you know, giant goats. You're in the mountains. That makes much more sense.
That is cool.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
This looks fun. I think.
It's pretty cool.
I think again, it's one of those I am not someone who backs a ton of projects. I think I am very picky, and I think some will look really cool, but I don't want to shell out. I'm not the person who wants to shell out like $150.
Right.
This kind of thing, as I start to get into DMing, would be something that I go, you know what? This doesn't look. I don't have a ton of time also to DM generally. Right. And I want to look at something. This looks really fun. It looks really simple, but it also looks really full of stuff that will allow me to put my own creativity into a really, really cool and interesting way. And this is one thing that to me goes, you know what? This doesn't look intimidating. This is a simple, this is what it is. And looks great. I think the art looks awesome, and I think it's super interesting. It has interesting stuff without being a million pages.
Exactly. They didn't lore dump on us, to use a D&D term. So some of those
it's
6
like
distinct regions.
Lore dump.
Exactly. Yeah. You have ogre Yeah, I'm gonna call it ogre peaks. Full of energy that are isolated in ruins. You have ramshackle bridgeways that house a cliff diving, rock climbing city full of adventurers. How cool is that? So basically, Denver. You have the beautiful but deadly grasping wood, a forest of carnivorous succulents, a molten furnace of lava and haywire constructs in the rock bile, a distant and haunted fields of ice known as the Frost Flows, and the serrated coast of Cloudfall Sea, a port of astronauts home to crab folk and covered in mountains of mysterious mist.
Wow.
Every one of those sounds amazing. Cool. Every one of those sounds amazing, and I love it. Okay, so your 3 lineages that you get. So you get the diminutive woodwoes that feast on fertile soil. You get the immortal Juke? I'm not sure how to say that. That once served the Shapers and now seek meaning and understanding without them. And then you get the crab folk. Okay, so here's the part that I wanted to discuss. And it's this idea of, they call it an impressionistic guide, which means that you're not getting detailed maps or lore or towns or dungeons. You're literally getting inspirational and evocative launching points for you to take and create your own stuff from. So the whole point of this is just to be inspirational, to give you ideas. Exactly. Which I am also a huge fan of, because that's my style. Yeah. I want to take the idea, but I want to make it mine.
I like that a lot.
Yeah.
I think, again, some of the it's kind of, it's like a step. This is more useful to me than the lazy guide to being a DM. This is like, this is that, instead of it generating, this is like someone took the time to write a story or write an idea of a realm and go make something with this. Yeah. And this is like just enough to be like,
your lore into
put your lore into the scene, but here's the idea. And I think that's super clever. And I think it hits a nice area of audience that it's again, you don't want something that's going to be everything, because you might want some wiggle room, but you want something that allows you to not have to think of everything at once, but gives you just something to jump off of. And I think there should be more of these out there. Things that, I mean, you can literally just go, I have these cool characters, don't know what I do with them. I have this realm that I kind of came up with, but you take whatever story you want and just take it. And I think that's a simple way for a lot of creators and people who come up with these homebrew ideas, that you don't want to write a story, but you have this idea, and put it up on Kickstarter. I'm sure people would want to see it.
You don't have to flush out every single aspect of things. No. Something like this can be just as
how you market it.
Yeah. I think it's super cool. What do you think, Joe?
Yeah, goat knights and turnip people, I'm all in. Where Alex needs to think really hard and really needs to be sold on the Kickstarter, you can show me a goat knight and I'm in.
We're there. We're there. So I think 2 out of 3 will probably, maybe 3 out of 3 will back this. But let's look at the price. If we are looking to back this really cool tiny Kickstarter that we came across. Again, they just met their goal, which is super exciting. So
congrats. We
should all be pumped if we're going to get that. So $10 PDF. $10 PDF. Just grab it. Don't even think about it. I mean, I've had Starbucks drinks that were more expensive than that. And it's true. I like to add a lot of things in there. You know, a drink and a scone, you're looking at like
That's true.
$20.
That's true.
You know, it's ridiculous. Get this instead. It's awesome. If you would like, let's see what this is. $15 and you get the Highfane PDF $10 off coupon. POD.
It's 5.
POD.
Yeah, the 5 torches
deep. $10 coupon. There it is.
There's like a
You get the 5 Fame Peaks PDF, 5 Torches Deep PDF, which is the rules, and the 5 Torches Deep POD $10 off coupon so that you can purchase it afterwards. $25 gets you all the things, but honestly, I think that $10 digital product is where it's at. That's what I would suggest. I think it's totally worth $10. Probably would have paid more for it, but I'm gonna pay $10 for this because I think it's cool.
Great. So, what would you roll this in?
It's smaller Kickstarter, doesn't blow us away, but has a really cool concept. And honestly, I'm a minimalist DM, and I really like that you assume that I can come up with a story. You know what I mean? There's something nice about that, where I don't have to be babied and told everything. You assume that I can come up with a story, and I thank you for that. So I am going to give this just a solid 16. I think it is useful and fun, and I'm excited to see the end product.
Fantastic. Well, as we head into the last couple projects, super excited. Just another quick reminder to take a look at the Wanderer's Guide. We'd really appreciate it. The Wanderer's Guide is now available to pre-order, and also if you already backed it, to go ahead and solidify your pledges. So take a look at that, and would really appreciate it. But let's go. As those of you who might not know, I am the resident Dice Goblin here, and it is dice time. And let's take a look, and we did mention that we are talking about dinosaurs once again. These are the Dinosaur Fossil Paleontology Sharp Edge Dice for RPG games. Wordy, but honestly great for SEO and marketing searching. These are so cool. They're handcrafted clear hard edge dice that have like fossils on the inside of them. And they are super, super cool. They've already made $19,000. They still have 16 days to go. But let's take us through here. And then there's one more I want to have an honorable mention about because we got to mention it. But let's take a look at these and let's decide which ones are our individual favorites.
But now, here's the thing about these, right? These are not different types of dice. This is a full set, but each die in the set is unique. So we're picking our favorite die.
Yes. Yes.
What's the mushroom dice? I don't understand.
I think that there's like when I bought the Wormwood set, right? It came with this silly thing, which isn't like a die, and I think it's like that.
It's like a crystal.
It's just like a little thing.
Oh,
right?
okay, cool.
So,
because they all have mushrooms on them.
Yeah, I think that one's a mushroom. It's a mascot essentially. It's like just a little extra mascot. I am personally, I could start it off. I really like the DNA helix. Really? I think that's super cool. I also am super fascinated with the shape of the DNA, and I think it's not something that you normally see in a 3D little model like that. I think that's super detailed and super cool. Yeah. The one behind that would probably be obviously the T-Rex skull. You gotta you gotta like the
how
T-Rex
not
skull.
And which is not fair that you took two, because I was gonna say the T-Rex skull.
That's my runner-up.
Because it's
you
really
say T-Rex
cool.
Skull?
I was, but now I'm gonna say Velociraptor claw.
Ooh, that's a good one.
That's a good one. And can I just say thank you all for not making D4s pointy, for making the flat D4s
and not the triangles that will stab you.
Not the caltrips. Yeah, because my cat likes to steal my dice, and sometimes it
drops them.
Yeah.
I like the ammonite dice. The little crustacean shell. That's my personal favorite inside of the D20. It reminds me of the fossil Pokemon that you find in the original Red and Blue. Yeah. So
Lord
that's
Helix.
the one that I like.
It literally says the inspiration is from Pokemon.
Ammonite and Amistar. Yep.
Oh, really? Oh,
it literally says it in that.
That's so
well recognized as the inspiration for Pokemon.
Or as the Reddit community will call Amistar, Lord Helix. There's literally there's a religion behind Amistar. I won't get into it, but it's crazy. Okay,
that's amazing.
These are really, really cool. To get the full set, let's just talk about it. It's going to be about $62 for the 10-piece set.
That seems worth it.
10-piece seems worth it. These look really, really
cool. Sharp edge, really nice.
But before we finish it up tonight, there are scented dice.
Yes, we have to talk about this. We made Alex talk about this.
We cannot do justice to talk about cool projects on Kickstarter and just decide that people can make smelly dice and not talk about them.
We have to talk about it.
I'm sorry, this is so gross to me. This is so gross.
Where did it go?
How long are they going to smell?
Smelly Bones has opened his vault of curated curiosities.
Baron Smelly Bones. I don't want to trust someone by the name Smelly Bones. Don't get me wrong. I love candles. I buy so much. There's a candle right here that's lit, right behind me. But I don't want to. A lot of people are handling dice and then putting it up to your face and smelling it.
Nobody's touching my dice. I just want to put that out there. Nobody's touching my dice.
Also, I'm gonna be honest. the dice look nice, but at the same time, I've seen better looking dice. Like I feel like most of the budget went towards the smell.
Okay,
Well,
wait.
that's their thing.
Let's take a look
now.
at what they have. I'm
Okay.
taking over, Alex. Okay.
Okay.
Alex is being spoiled.
Snobby goblin.
Healer's
Snobby
Balm, which is scented with cleansed linen. Ancient Armory with the scent of steel and leather. Nature's
Bio.
Embrace, Earth and Fir Tree.
Mm.
Then you have Fireball Char with a cozy campfire smell. You also have Arcane Vapors with a sweet tobacco.
Mm.
All right, everyone has.
I know mine. I'm gonna go first this time, so nobody takes it. I like the nature ones. I like earthy smells, like dirt. I like to smell dirt. Is that weird? That might be weird.
No, I think just like the smell of outside is good.
Yeah, it's good.
I am Fireball Char all the way because I
campfires are nice.
do love the smell of like burning embers. I think that that's really cool.
If we're just
When
going
your
by
clothes
smell,
like it afterwards,
yes.
and you're
If
just
we're
like,
just going by smell, I'm gonna go with the Fireball Char because cozy campfire is, I think, like my top 2 favorite smells.
But if
mhm,
I were going
mhm.
by
Your hair.
look, Arcane Vapors all the way.
Yes, agreed.
Yeah. Yeah.
Agreed.
But I don't want tobacco smelling.
Well, it's not like a cigarette. Have you
I
ever
don't want-
smelled like?
I don't want
Okay,
scented.
cool.
I know that. So tobacco.
Stop it.
My wife bought me a hair product that was sweet tobacco scented as well.
Uh-huh.
And
Not
like I
fan.
just felt like I smelled like a really old man.
Oh, that's fair.
kinda has, like,
That's-
that, like,
that's fair.
That
Yeah.
original Old Spice smell.
I would just buy a handful of these, put them in like an old used candle jar or just like an old jar, put a top on it, and treat it like a candle. Don't even use, just literally put them in as like a decorative smelling piece.
I'm really curious how long they last, though. Like,
I am
seriously, I
curious.
want to get one just to try it. You
Yeah.
know?
This is one of those things, again, it's like, it's gimmicky, right? It is.
Mhm.
It's gimmicky, and I'm wondering how long the smell lasts, but you guys did want me to talk about this one. We did want to talk
Applause to
about
them
it.
for trying something brave.
Applause to them that
you
it's very different
know?
and brave. But that being said, those are I'm gonna give the Dino Dice a roll. I think those are pretty solid. I think the details are incredible. I'm gonna give those a 15 tonight. I think that's a very solid roll for a set of dice, and I think those look great. We've now reached the end of our episode. But that being said, Joe, do you have a question that you normally ask us at the end? Do you have a question for us tonight that you would like us to ponder? And those in the comments, feel free to answer the question below as well.
I do. Let me think of how I want to phrase it, and go ahead and do the social media plugs real quick, and we'll get to the question.
All right. So again, as we reach the end of this episode, please feel free to like, comment, and subscribe to our channel and hit the notification bell so you know when we do go live and when new videos are uploaded. Again, the Wanderer's Guide is up for pre-order. The link is in the description, so go ahead and check that out. It is featuring tons and tons of different maps, NPCs, plot hooks, a ton of different stuff that makes your campaign creation experience amazing and beautiful. So that is the Wanderer's Guide, art by Andrew Bosley, by games such as Everdell, Tapestry, and a bunch of other amazing products.
So good. Love it. Okay, Joe.
Okay, here is what I'm going to ask. If everyone had to think of a very quick, like 5-second piece of advice that you could give to new dungeon masters, okay? Just a quick, like, hey, this will totally help you out a lot. What would your one piece of advice be? Something very simple, not broad, something specific and simple. For me, I'll start out. I think every DM should have a list of like 20 male and female and other NPC names, so that when your characters go to talk to somebody, you can just look at the list, have a name,
Yeah.
and not sit around going, I think having some ready to go NPC names is one of the best things you can do to just make sure things flow well.
So I just had this conversation with a friend of mine who was having some issues with her DM, and they were getting in arguments. And this is where I think comes to mind, and this is how I am going to approach, and that's how I think the relationship between player and DM is. DMing is not a competition. Go to have fun, have open communication, and enjoy the campaign.
Yep, I like that.
Do not compete, because that's not what it is.
It's not you versus them.
It is not.
Here's mine, which may be controversial, but that's okay. I don't mind being that way. Is find a way every session to give each player inspiration. And the reason I say that is because it keeps you focused on your players and picking out what they've done well and telling them specifically you did that really well. Because everybody really likes that and it encourages them to do it more.
Yeah.
And that has been advice from Roll for Review. Thanks for joining us, guys and gals.
And everyone included.
Non-binary pals.
Non-binary pals. Thank you all so much. I won't say all my spiel again. You heard me. And we will see you next time.
Just
Everyone,
do it.
have a fantastic night.
Do it.
Bye.
Bye.